Welcome to the only business meeting of the Greytown Council in August. My name is Dan McGuire. I'm the chair of the council. We'll start with roll call. Matthew?
Here.
Mike?
Here.
Ian?
Present.
Krista is away on vacation and is excused this evening. As I said, my name's Dan McGuire, and to my right is Michael Foley, our town manager. If you'll all stand and join in the Pledge of Allegiance with me. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you're joining us for the first time this summer, we have made some changes to our agenda. Krista probably mentioned this at the July meeting. I wasn't in attendance for that meeting. We have rearranged things in an attempt to make them more open, give people more opportunity that come to the meetings to participate in them. And as a result, we've rearranged things a little bit. It'll probably take me some time to get used to it too. But the next order of business is the approval of the minutes for the July 16th meeting. Were there any corrections or changes needed?
I didn't see any.
I didn't see it either.
Seeing none, is there any objection to unanimous consent? Hearing that, the minutes of the July 16th, 2024 meeting are approved. Next on our agenda is the report from the town manager.
Great. Let me just see if I can get my screen up here. Hold on. For some reason it doesn't appear my screen is showing up on the thing, but I'll just go through.
You want a paper copy?
No, I'm trying to show my presentation for the town manager's report. And so I'll go through the items that I had. Apologize for the technical difficulties, but I just want to report on town open positions that we have. We continue to have open position at the transfer station. We have open positions with our firefighter and EMTs, and then we have an open position in the economic development director position, the newly created position. We'll be working to that position specifically, formulate a hiring committee in the coming weeks, and hope to involve a couple town councilors. So if there's anyone specifically interested in participating, let me know. We'll only be allowed to have 2 for open meeting laws, but hopefully we'll have a nice committee together to evaluate that. Did want to report the Blueberry Festival took place on Saturday, August 10th. It was their 8th annual event and went off without a hitch. There was some nervousness about the weather in advance, but thankfully the weather cleared up that day, and it was actually very hot, very warm. But the event was overwhelmingly attended, and want to thank the organizers who put that on, the chair, Lacey Anderson, and all of our volunteers that she rallied to put that on. It was well attended. We had a number of town staff there to support the event, I think more than we have had in years past, for facilities and deal with trash and all those different things and make adjustments to stuff as we needed. So it was a great event, and we hope members of the community that attended enjoy. I did want to mention a couple of general updates, and the first one is Wilkes Beach. We've had a number of instances where the water there has tested high for E. coli, which is not recommended, or there's certain levels that are recommended based on from the Department of Environmental Protection. And so there's been a number of times throughout the summer where the beach has been closed. This is something that I think has been going on for a number of years here in the community, and so it actually just reopened today following a higher test that took place. And so we're hoping that the cause of it will hopefully resolve itself in the coming weeks. But we'll continue to keep everyone posted. Though the swimming weather is coming close to a close. So I did want to report on. I had announced earlier this month about the former finance director theft, and wanted to just share my announcement associated with that. Last month, or actually in June, former finance director Katie Jewell pleaded guilty to a misdemeanor theft by unauthorized taking or transfer as part of a plea deal in the case, resulting in a payment of $53,177.32 in restitution to the town of Gray. The former employee was found to have misappropriated funds during their time working for the town during 2020 to 2022, leading to the criminal charges and subsequent plea deal. The restitution payment covers the full amount of funds that were stolen of $37,608.57 and $15,568.75 of additional auditing and legal fees. This issue was first raised by the town's auditor following the June 30th, 2022 annual audit, and was referred by the town to law enforcement immediately thereafter, and prosecuted by the Cumberland County District Attorney's Office. I just wanted to, I also, in the announcement, I expressed gratitude for resolution of the case, that we're grateful to all involved for their diligence in uncovering this theft and ensuring that justice was served. The town takes its responsibility to the community very seriously and will continue to work tirelessly to ensure that our employees uphold the highest ethical standards and that we have appropriate checks and balances in place to prevent this from happening again. The town reminds residents and employees that any suspicions of wrongdoing should be reported immediately. And if anyone has any questions about the case specifically, they can contact the Cumberland County District Attorney's Office, or I'm happy to answer any other questions. So I wanted to share that resolution. And then Kyle, who manages our TV in the back, has a summer internship presentation that he's going to try to voice over from the back and show on the TV. TV's
Yes.
here in the chamber, so I'll turn it over to him.
Hello, folks. Can you hear me okay? Just give me a thumbs up if so. Okay, perfect. Yes, this is Kyle Hediniak. I'm the Director of Communications and IT for the town of Gray. And I'm also lucky enough that come summertime, I get to supervise at least one intern. This year we had an intern named Lily Renko. She comes to us from Colby College. She lives in Westbrook, but she goes to Waterville for college. Her minor is government with a major in American Studies, and she's a second-year undergraduate, so she worked with us this year, and she has prepared a short 3-minute video that I will endeavor to put up on the TVs here in just a hot second, and she's going to tell you a bit of what she did. Just give me 1 second.
Hello, my name is Lillian Renko, and I've spent this summer interning in communications under Kyle Hediniak. Over the summer, interning for the town of Gray has been enlightening and transformative, to say the least. From day one, I was immersed in the complexities and nuances of local governance, which has profoundly deepened my understanding of public service. A lot of work Kyle and I have completed was behind the scenes, focusing on collecting and producing media in many forms. Kyle, with extreme patience, taught me photography, video, and photo editing, along with pretty much how to use every application in Microsoft 365, which is not as intuitive as one might think. Some major tasks Kyle and I spearheaded were curating the annual town report, taking staff headshots, posting citizen achievements, employee recognition videos, and keeping the town up to date on events. Along the way, I had invaluable experiences I will carry with me going forward. The first being preparing and working on my first election. I was simply astounded by how many moving parts contribute to running an election. Town clerk Britt Barton, along with all the volunteers, the vast majority being women, and my fellow intern Emma Keniston, absolutely killed it. Assisting over 1,300 Gray residents cast their vote, we worked together as a team in the New Begin gym from dawn to around 10 p.m. Leading up to the election, we made the first ever reel for the Town of Gray social media accounts. This short video included election details and was a major success, reaching over 1,000 users. Another experience I would like to highlight was Intern Day. This was put on by the Maine Government Summer Internship Program, which is a program that paired me with Gray for the summer. This day included a tour of the Maine Capitol building, meeting Senate President Jackson, and hearing from experts on the power municipal government holds in our society. I attended this with my fellow intern, previously mentioned Emma Keniston, and together we met dozens of other interns working around the state. Lastly, and perhaps most important to me, I got to make special connections with inspiring Gray citizens. Mary Sweeney Underwood is an active citizen who shares her love of Nordic walking with the town through a walking group she has been running for the last couple years. In addition to this, she is an active member of the Gray Historical Society and recently collaborated with Kyle and I to make media promoting this amazing organization in Gray. Despite her ongoing challenges fighting cancer and health issues, Mary does not let this dim her spirit. While having the honor of walking with Mary one afternoon to take photos to use as advertising posts for her group, she told me her story and how she feels Nordic walking saved her life after she lost her husband and began her fight with cancer. People like Mary, who selflessly dedicate their time to making the community a better place, make me see why working for municipal government is to truly work for the people. Finally, I want to close out by saying a special thank you to Kyle, Britt, and Emma, and the town of Gray for making this summer so much more than working in a town office. This internship surpassed my expectations, and I could not be more thankful for this experience. Thank you.
Alrighty. So as you can see, Lily had a great time with us. Despite the plain background in that video, it was not a hostage video. We didn't force her to say that, so I think she did have a good time. And I look forward every summer to working with interns. They contribute some valuable, not only workmanship to our work here, but also just they're a great personality to inject into the workplace every time they come on board, and Lily was no exception. Just a small advertising note, you can check out that video about the Gray Historical Society on our YouTube channel right now. It's been out for a couple weeks, it's gotten quite a few views, and I know Lily and I are both really proud of it, and you'll learn something about the Gray Historical Society. Thank you, and if you have any questions about Gray's internship, just hit me up. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle, for that presentation. And I think I'm able to get my presentation up here now on the screen. So included in the packet were also the department head reports. Just wanted to reference, and if anyone has any questions about those, feel free to direct those to me, and I can relay those. And then lastly, I wanted to touch on the recent revaluation. Our town assessor, Lauren Aslin, is here to give us a wholesale overview, but I just want to go through a few bullet points before she came up that she may also repeat. But the town had a main revenue services audit in 2022, which reflected that values averaged 73% below market value. And in the Maine Constitution, there's a section that reads, all taxes upon real and personal estate assessed by authority of the state shall be appropriated and assessed equally according to just value thereof. And just value is defined as market value. And so that required the town to explore how they wanted to ensure that was happening. And in order to do that, the town council a number of years ago made a decision to do an equalization, which is not a full revaluation, and they approved a contract with KRT Appraisal in March of 2023 prior to my arrival for $160,000 versus a full revaluation, which would involve visits to individual properties for probably $400,000 or more. And so that revaluation process, which has been going on for almost 2 years, was completed in the summer of 2024 with an estimated real mill rate of $9.60 per $1,000 of value. And again, that's just an estimate until all the meetings and stuff take place. But I'm going to call up Lauren to give the council a more thorough overview of the start to finish of this process, and allow the council an opportunity to ask her any questions they may have.
Good evening, I'm Lauren Aslin. I am the assessor for the town of Gray. And as Town Manager Foley indicated, I'm going to give some detailed information about the current reval project that's going on. I am going to repeat some of the stuff that Mr. Foley said, but that's okay. So, per Maine State Statute, Title 36, Section 327, called Minimum Assessing Standards, a municipality shall achieve an assessment ratio not less than 70%. And in Article 9 of the Maine Constitution, Section 8 reads, in part, all taxes upon real and personal estate assessed by authority of this state shall be apportioned and assessed equally according to the just value thereof, and just value is defined as market value. So the Maine Revenue Services audit conducted in 2022 indicated that the town of Gray's assessed values were below 70%. And so in response, the town of Gray issued a request for proposals on March 23rd, 2023 for a revaluation. KRT Appraisal was awarded the bid on May 3rd, 2023 in the amount of $160,000. So there are two types of revaluations. There's a full revaluation and then a statistical revaluation, otherwise known as an equalization. A full revaluation involves the interior and exterior inspection and remeasurement of all properties, which necessitates entry into each residence or building. And a statistical revaluation involves interior and uses existing data to revalue all the town properties, avoiding on-site property inspections except to confirm validity of data for a sample of properties. And sales are then analyzed to determine new town-wide values. The town of Gray performed a full revaluation for the fiscal year 2019 and opted to perform a statistical revaluation at this time as it is more cost efficient, $160,000 versus upwards of $400,000. But whether a full revaluation or a statistical revaluation is done, the goal is the same: to equalize the values of all properties and establish fairness and equity among all property owners and all property types. So while property values change over time, they don't change at the same rate. So market value may have increased more for some neighborhoods and property types than for others. Others may have decreased in value as well. For example, you have Mr. Smith and Mr. Jones, and they both own a piece of property that's worth $200,000 in the market. Mr. Smith's property currently be assessed at 60% of market value, and Mr. Jones's property is currently being assessed at 80% of market value. So the town budget, hypothetically, say it's $6,000. At 100% of market value, both Mr. Jones and Mr. Smith would each be paying $3,000 because they have property that's exactly the same value. At the reduced ratios, Mr. Smith would be paying $2,580 and Mr. Jones would be paying $3,420. And that's an unfair tax burden for Mr. Jones simply because we're not equitable across the board. So another important note is at the 100% ratio, it allows the town to award the full amount of any exemptions: homestead, veterans, blind. Last year, we weren't at 100% of market, and so we were only allowed to give $23,750 for the homestead, and we also had to reduce the other exemptions as well. The other issue with being below 100% is that any business personal property that we collect tax on, we have to apply the certified ratio to that. So if there's a business who's supposed to be paying $800, they're only going to pay $600. The rest is going to shift onto the residential side because we still need to collect the same amount of money. There are 5 steps to the revaluation. The phase 1 is the sales review and the validation. During this phase, KRT field reviewed each property that sold between April 1 of 2022 and March 31 of 2024. It was approximately 400 non-waterfront properties and just over 50 waterfront. They review the property record cards. They make notes for the property location, size, condition. quality of construction, and other factors that they can see on site. They're trying to get a clear understanding of what sold and for what price. And in conjunction with the assessing office, we begin qualifying sales as arm's length, which means willing seller, willing buyer, because those are the only sales that we can really count when we're trying to establish market value. The second phase is the market analysis, where KRT analyzes those sales. They determine what market influences there are, and they gather information from like multiple listing services, realtors, property managers, developers, and they collect all that data and they review it, and then they determine where to delineate the neighborhoods, which means that one area of town that may be selling for different market values in another area of town due to maybe area or the newness of it or type of property. So once they delineate the neighborhoods, then they can go and actually apply the market values for each of those specific areas. Then the phase 3 is the valuation, where they analyze the data from 1 and 2, and they take those values, they add them to the land values which have previously been established, and then that gives the final estimate for each property. Phase 4 is the field review, where they check and they recheck both the values they've determined and the accuracy of the data for the sales, and then they go and view a select number of properties in the field to match up what they have with that property and see if they're on track with what they aim to have for values. Phase 5 is the informal hearings, which are going on right now. They should be wrapping up this week, and that involves sending out notices to all property owners in the town of Gray stating the new proposed value, and everybody who got a letter had the opportunity to set up a meeting with KRT to discuss anything that they wanted to, whether it just be the revaluation process, their specific property, land values. It was pretty much open to whatever they wanted to ask. And so those will be wrapping up this week. And then once that's complete, KRT will finalize their changes. They will send them all to me, and I will review every single one. And once I'm done reviewing and putting like my rubber stamp on it, then they will forward me all the paperwork and documents that they have for the project. Those become the property of the town of Gray. I will finalize the tax commitment, the mill rate will get finalized, and the tax bills will go out. The one thing I always point out when we do these kinds of projects, statistically, when you do a revaluation, doesn't matter what kind, 1/3 of the properties go up, 1/3 go down, and 1/3 stay relatively the same. And it's a very broad statement. However, I actually did the work to figure it out. So we have 4,623 parcels. 1,710 or 37% increased, 1,551 or 34% decreased, and the remainder, 29%, stayed relatively the same. So just wanted to put that out there since it's mentioned quite often, that 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. I think it's interesting. And that is all I had as far as the process. But if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Anyone have any questions for
Yeah,
Lauren?
Lauren, unfortunately, I'm in one of the properties that's the third that increased. And, I've got a few questions, concerns from neighbors. As these prices, everyone's homes have gone up dramatically over the last few years. If in the next 2 years, prices drop dramatically, are we gonna spend the money to do this again?
We don't have to, because part of my job is to analyze the market. So if there is a market drop that is more than 10%, then I can adjust the other way, as long as the time frame is short enough. I track it every year. In this specific case, because the market was so, it inflated so quickly, and the values were all over the place, it was really difficult for me to analyze each neighborhood. I didn't have the staff or the time, which is why KRT was hired to do it, because they have more staffing and the ability to look at a broad area, whereas usually in the market, there are specific segments that will increase or decrease. It won't be on like the whole entire population. So when I do my reports, I can say, okay, well, this area looks like we're undervaluing, and this area we're overvaluing, as opposed to we are overvaluing and undervaluing all across the board. And it's just so, there's so many different variables involved that it has to be looked at by somebody that has more staff. But, no, I can do that.
The feedback that I also wanted to give you is that, personally, I had my meeting with KRT. I used a lot of the data that was in our database. But a few days later, all that data was taken down, and it certainly looked inappropriate. Was there a reason why we took down all the data online?
Yes, because the data that was online was last year's data.
Well, I
Yeah,
understand
last
that,
year's-
but when you're comparing properties, you can't compare properties without the actual data.
All that data was available on KRT's website.
Okay.
Yes,
All
they
right.
had everything that we had, and it was all, and I was instructing people to go to their website if they were looking for information. It was all available there.
Okay. And then my last comment, just to let you know, most of the, if we're gonna use KRT again, I highly question them. The reason why is my home, for example, was compared to a home that was built 6 months ago. The conditions significantly different, but their value was lower than my value, which is 20-plus years old. And, I question how they came up with their numbers. Even, just looking at the data alone raw, and any smart person could see the difference between the two. And I feel that the information that was passed on to me was not appropriate.
Okay, I apologize for that, but if you wanted to, you can also discuss with me, if you tell me what property you were looking at, I am able to actually look at that and tell you what the differences are and what, I may be able to explain it to you.
And listen, I'm not trying to pick on you, you had a
No,
hard job,
I'm not-
and I get that.
I didn't take it that way at all, no.
Yeah,
I'm just
no,
offering my
absolutely.
assistance if you
Yep.
need it. That's what I'm there for, so if you had any other questions that didn't get answered by KRT, I am certainly available to help with that.
All set, Mike?
Yes.
Matthew?
I guess I would just mention that I had occasion to have a market analysis by an independent realtor for my home, and you guys nailed it.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
You guys were very
Oh.
close to the independent analysis that I had done, without reference to, to your
Yeah.
process at all.
Yeah.
But they came out very close.
Okay.
Ann, do you have any questions?
No.
To the value in the letter I got.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
They came out, the realtor independent of the town came out very close to the value in the letter I got from you.
Good, thank you for letting me know.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I don't have any questions about the process. I think your explanation was really helpful and clear. I think, for me, the sort of lesson learned from this, and I don't necessarily know that I'll be on the council next time we do rebalancing or a reval, but is to maybe do a little bit more advanced work with the community to let them know it's coming. There's probably no way to get hold of everybody and make sure they know, but I think some of the criticism I think I heard from people in the community was that they were very surprised, they didn't know it was coming, and also that we could have done a better job about messaging that, we're gonna change the mill rate, and so your taxes are not gonna go up, 50 or 60% or whatever they thought it would. So these are tough times for some people, and I really appreciate those who reached out to me with their concerns. It wasn't too many, mostly was on Facebook that I was interacting with folks, but I hope that once people get their tax bills, they'll see, as you said, their tax bills are, the majority of residents are gonna see their tax bills either remain the same or go down.
Thank you.
And just to
Oops, excuse-
piggyback on that.
No,
just
hold on a minute.
Okay.
Do you have anything else, Ann?
I think that's it, thanks.
Okay. My turn, then we'll come back to you.
Okay, thanks.
The projected 9.6%,
Yes,
is that the what portion of that is the towns? Do you know
I don't.
at this point? Okay.
Yeah, I don't.
But that's the total number, not
Yes.
just the towns portion?
No, that would be the whole number, yes.
Okay, just want to make sure. So that's down from
15.18?
15.18, yep, okay. I just want to make sure I had those numbers right. Just a couple of other things I want to piggyback onto that. There are a lot of moving parts to the town budget. The state's requirements, our own requirements, having the reevaluation done at the same time always complicates it. Some of the things that I think are important to remember that in June, when voters approved our budget for fiscal year 2025, it was $13.2 million. It was 1.4% lower than last year. Not a whole lot lower, but lower than last year. When the voters approve our budget, they freeze the numbers both for the expenses and for the revenue in place. And the town can't collect any more money than that, or expend any more money than that. If we do collect more money than that, say because taxes change, or we register more cars and we get more money through excise tax, that money goes into a fund that can't be used by the council without a vote and some other checks and balances, and is usually carried over to next year and is used in the subsequent years. We used, correct me if I'm wrong, approximately $1 million of the unfunded balance from the previous year to keep taxes lower this particular year. Of the $13.2 million, $7.2 million of that comes from other sources than property taxes. So it comes from revenue sharing from the state. It comes from, as I said, excise taxes on cars and boats and other things. It comes from permits and other fees that the town collects. So about $6.1 million of our budget comes from property taxes. The total tax bill is going to go up significantly, and this year, the school doesn't always have bigger increases, but this year the increase is from the school budget. And I think, all those numbers aren't gonna make anybody whose tax bill just went up feel any better. My tax bill certainly went up. But I think it's as important to understand the process and how all these pieces fit together. And unfortunately, it's as complicated as it is. It has always been a point of frustration for me personally that we can't be sure about the mill rate when we go to ask for approval of the budget. And a lot of that has to do with the state and their calculations that they do. So when we go to voters with the budget, we're going with a projected mill rate, knowing that it probably is going to change. And we always try to go with a higher number than what we hope it will be, because there's nothing worse than telling people the mill rate's going to be one thing and having it be higher. So I appreciate the explanation and the time, and just wanted to throw those two pieces, or those few pieces of information into the mix for people. Anything else?
I just want to say, and I would agree with you 100%. I think really the biggest concern, I had over 30 people. I was keeping a check mark of how many people approached me. I think the timing as far as the notice, next time in the future would be better if we could maybe do something about that, because I think when people opened up their mail and saw that for the first time, that's when my phone started ringing from friends and neighbors and people I met at the grocery store and the recycling facility and all the other places. So it's not a reflection on you, it's just more a reflection on the timing of it, that, they didn't get a notice. And I would, suggest that at some point in time, we need to, as an email went out the other day, we need to consider, especially people down the lake that have, these family properties that have been around for years, that many of them are going to have to sell now because their taxes are going to go up significantly, and not just by a few $1,000s. I mean, some of them thousands of dollars, which you know, and I don't know when an appropriate time to talk about this is, but, you know, we institute this, but a lot of people escrow their taxes, and they're gonna have a $3,000 or $4,000 increase 2 months after they got, you know, after they got that letter, and I don't know if that's appropriate.
One of the things, a little PSA, if you go to the town's website, I know not everyone's comfortable with the internet, so the internet doesn't work for anyone, but there is the opportunity to sign up for an email letter from the town. That will show up weekly, I believe, and.
Newsletter?
The newsletter.
It's monthly.
It's monthly, pardon me. But it has a lot of this information in it. It's an extremely good way to stay in touch with the workings of the town and what's on the horizon. It is extremely expensive to do mailings. It costs us thousands and thousands of dollars to do mailings. We put things on the website, we send out the newsletter. We do communicate it in a variety of different ways. But if someone really wants to make sure they don't get caught off guard, you know, sign up for the newsletter because it doesn't cost you anything, and it'll show up in your mailbox once a month, and it will give you a lot of good information about the town, not just this particular thing, also volunteer opportunities, because we are looking for people for some of our committees. So perhaps someone who's listening to our meeting tonight would be interested in volunteering for those. Yes, Michael.
Thank you, and I'll close out my town manager's report to just mention that Gray's not alone in this revaluation situation. It's happened where I live. It's happening in communities all over southern Maine because they're all grappling with the certified ratios being what they need to be in order to fully comply with the state valuation laws. And so it's a necessary evil that none of us enjoy going through this process. But one of the things that will come out of this, you know, we'll in the future, we'll work to try to have better communication, but Lauren will have better data now that she can make more adjustments on her own without us to ever having to do these more broad-based adjustments with such fluctuations. And like she said, she can make adjustments both positive and negative if the market were to significantly shift in the time ahead. So we'll have better data for the years ahead for Lauren to be able to manage it better.
Thank you. Ann?
Yeah, just a couple of things. I mean, I'm really sympathetic to the lake owners. My 5 siblings and I co-own a property on Panther Pond over in Raymond that's been in my family since 1907. We're also experiencing those rapid and shocking tax increases, and that's impacting our ability to use the property, and to keep it maintained. The other thing I would just note, though, is that, I mean, this is the system that we live under. I think it, you know, Lauren was pretty clear that it's state law that we need to be compliant with, because otherwise you're not going to get your homestead or your veterans exemption, you know, exemptions that would otherwise be eligible to get. But it's also, you know, it's not just the town's responsibility to keep housing affordable. It's the market that we live in, where housing is considered an investment first for among some people, and a shelter secondarily, and that's kind of what I've seen. I've done affordable housing work for almost 40 years, and that's the big shift that I've seen, is that you know, that housing is much more of an investment. And, you know, since the pandemic hit, we've been seeing more and more properties where people buy them in cash. They buy them at $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 above the market price, above the asking price, because they can, and that puts a lot of people, you know, in a real disadvantaged position. But that's the capitalist system that we live under, and if we don't like it, then we're going to have to change that.
Thank you.
Separate discussion.
Yes, go ahead.
Just briefly, I guess I would
Wrap
just.
it up with you.
Yeah, thank you. I would just comment also that my partner read the letter, the valuation letter, separate from me, you know, and without me soliciting any comment from her. She commented, "Oh, they really did a good job explaining how the mill rate was gonna, you know, potentially offset the valuation increase, the reduction in the mill rate." So, you know, kudos on the letter.
Thank
And And there, you know, as far as people being mad or not, you know, being surprised, I don't think there's anything we can do about that. I mean, if people had been, you know, coming to meetings in person or watching them online or looking at the newsletter or paying attention, you know, on some level, I think they would have known this was coming. So I don't think there's anything that staff can really do about that. So that's what I'd like to close my comments with.
On that note, we'll thank you for your report.
That's all I
Thank you
have.
very much
Thank
for
you.
your
Thank you.
information.
Yeah.
We'll move on to council communications. I'll start with the report from the council chair. I don't have a lot to report tonight. I do want to mention that the E. coli issue on Crystal Lake, the source of that issue, for anyone who isn't familiar with it, is geese. It's, when you talk about E. coli, you know, people think it could be septic systems, it could be other things, but what's been the issue for us, and it seems to be a growing issue, is the geese that come and land on the pond or the lake. Crystal Lake, for those who don't know, is actually pretty shallow. It used to be called Dry Pond for a reason. It's not as though there's water that flows through Crystal Lake on a regular basis and keeps that water turned up, which would help this particular situation. So I just wanted to clarify that part. I was invited to attend the Deer Acres Association annual meeting on August 10th. There were about 36 people in attendance there. Deer Acres, for those of you that don't know, has applied to the council to have Deer Acres become a public road. Those discussions have been kind of going on informally for quite a while. I think we're at a point in time now where we're about to put it on the front burner and hear from their proposal again and have some conversation about what that would look like if in fact Deer Acres could become a public road. The only other thing that I have is that we do have a workshop planned for our first meeting in September, so you'll be getting information about that. And that's all I have for a report myself personally. Ann, do you want to kick us off with correspondence?
Sure. Let's see. I had, as I said earlier, a couple of people reached out to me about the rebalancing. I responded to outreach from a company called Autura about dispatching software that they use to help expedite and speed up responses to things like car crashes, and I referred them to the Cumberland County Sheriff's Department, since that's where we get our public, sheriff's response from. And I wasn't able to attend a meeting of the Deer Acres Association due to my involvement in the Great Blueberry Fest. I was there at 6 a.m. and stayed until about 4 or 5, and it was an awesome day, just a really fun day, and it was a pleasure to be part of it. So I think that's it of my council correspondence.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that I did have some emails and some conversations with people both about the budget, and the reevaluation too. Michael?
Well, as I mentioned, I think I had 33 people approach me about the revaluation, but I also live down the lake where the average doubled, the value of the homes.
I don't think you can say the average doubled. You might know that about your own, but.
The 33 people that called me all had it had at least a double.
Okay,
Okay.
that works.
Out of the 33 that called me. How's that? With the, we've got some correspondence here. I don't know, do we mention these letters or not, or?
You can, yes, yeah,
Oh, okay,
anything
we-
that you got. You
Yeah,
can
we,
mention
I
to us.
there was a couple letters in my, and when I showed up today about the marijuana facility and the zoning, and then one questioning some politics type stuff regarding Michael, which, I don't think it's appropriate to talk about that, in an open meeting, but I did receive those, and then the emails that we all received that we shared amongst each other.
Thank you. Matthew?
Yeah, I also received those emails. Yeah, and nobody's approached me about the E. coli and Crystal Lake issue, but, and I don't have any knowledge that this is an issue, but I do know that in my, professional life, when there have been E. coli issues associated with concentrations of wildlife, it often has to do with people feeding that wildlife and attracting them that way. So if that's an issue on Crystal Lake, that's something, that,
People should discourage.
yeah. And again, I don't have any information that that's happening. It just comes to mind. So, and I also got the email that we all exchanged, and my current situation might have been a topic in that email about a potential vacancy on the council. And so I guess I'd like to announce at this meeting that I am moving, and I am going to, I'm going to have to resign from the council.
Okay.
I can stay on, I think I can stay on the council legally until September 12th. And then after that, I think it's best that I resign. I'd be happy to resign at any time that works best for the transition. But I will be resigning from the council.
Okay.
And I guess I would just mention that once I resign, anyone can apply to the council to fill my seat.
Yes, we'll create a process like
Yeah.
we've done in the past to fill your seat.
So I guess I would just like to say that the vast majority of my experience as a counselor here in town has been of appreciation and support from the public and from town staff and from my fellow counselors and committee members, and it's just been a really good experience, and I've loved living in Gray, and there are just circumstances that are making it make sense for me to make a life decision to move. So, and I apologize to to everyone for not fulfilling my commitment to serve for 3 years.
Well, opportunities come up when they come up, and we have to decide whether to take advantage of them or not. And I appreciate the time you've spent on the council for
Yeah.
sure.
Thanks for your
Absolutely.
service.
And we will create a process for filling your seat.
Yeah. So right now I'll plan on resigning September 12th, and I will attend the next.
The first meeting, sure, that works well. And then Michael and I can get together and we can outline the timeline for how we're gonna fill your seat. Committee reports is next up. Do you wanna kick us off for that?
Sure. I met with the rec committee. I don't have my calendar right in front of me, but I met with the rec committee last week on Monday, so it would have been a week ago Monday. They're working on this pump track, which I think mentioned before, which is, and they're working with the school department. And again, this is like a dedicated member of the committee that is pursuing this and really helping make it a reality. And it's a pump track is basically like a practice track for mountain biking. It has like humps in it which
Oh, okay.
allow you to get used to the forces of going up and down hills on a mountain bike, but in a controlled, safe setting. So that's kind of been a big topic of conversation with the rec committee. They also have the trunk or treat coming up. They're looking for anyone who'd like to make donations of candy or money to the rec committee to help that happen. They also have a scholarship fund that is always people can contribute to help with summer people that can't afford it to participate in the summer programs and things like that. Again, it's just been a real pleasure to serve for that committee. Same goes for the Dry Mill Schoolhouse Committee. I met with them last night. And they're working on sort of having a, you know, next season, having a, you know, like a new sort of grand opening to draw attention to the Dry Mill Schoolhouse. And also suggested that they work with the rec committee on, you know, maybe making that resource available for summer rec courses. And those are the only committees I've met with recently.
Thank you. Thank you for explaining what a pump track is. That was one of my questions. And I can't believe anyone's thinking about Halloween. That in and of itself is a scary thought, but you got to plan ahead. Mike?
I must be on the best committees because I've got nothing to report because we have not had a meeting yet since I've been involved. So, you know, I'm hoping, I'm bummed that Matt's leaving because it sounds like I may have to jump on a committee that does something.
Okay. I'll just go ahead. I don't have any committee reports either. Planning Board's next meeting will be September 12th, and the Zoning Board of Appeals' next meeting will be September 25th. Ann?
Yeah, so Resiliency met, and again, thanks to Mike Foley for working with the state to execute the Community Action Grant agreement in a timely way so we can get started in that $50,000 grant we got. The Cumberland County Soil and Water Conservation District attended our July meeting and said we were way ahead of the other towns that they're working with on similar grants in terms of just getting ourselves organized. The Resiliency Committee also staffed the table at the Blueberry Fest, and the committee's just been awesome. They've been so tireless in their work since I got back on the council last fall. I just want to remind everybody that this Saturday, August 24th, is the Hazardous Waste Day at the transfer station from 9 a.m. to 12 noon. Proof of residency will be required. If you're interested in volunteering on that, contact Randy Cookson at the transfer station. And there's a, if you want to know more information about it, I'm sure you can call the town office. The Community Television Advisory Committee meets next week. I plan to attend that meeting. Open Space's August meeting was canceled since nearly everyone was going to be away. And they also staffed a table at the Blueberry Fest. It's been a really hard-working group. The Village Transformation Project is now Michael Thomas's job to manage. He's jumped right in. He's done a super job. Just last week, the principal group provided us with a draft of the full village plan. We discussed some edits to it. There's some additional work they need to do, and they're working on that now. And we're looking at revising their scope of work. We hope to present that plan to the council. We were looking for a meeting in September, but it looks like there just is, you know, there's some other stuff we need to do first. So I think we're talking about October.
Well, they weren't available, so October
During one of them.
1st.
Yeah, October 1st is the next available time that we can meet with the principal group and formally, you know, present the plan to the council and to the community. I bumped into Senator Teresa Peirce at the Blueberry Fest, and she suggested we pull together another meeting like we had last October with the state legislators and MDOT to just talk about funding, the funding future for the VTP. So
I'll have to plan
still
for
moving
that
forward.
one.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
I'm sorry, but I forget the library trustees, they also met. And I bring them up because I wanted to mention that the library staff had, you know, there was basically the collapse of the interlibrary loan system in Maine.
Yes, yeah, Minerva.
And library staff have gotten together with some other libraries and created a sort of mini organic
Ad hoc, yeah.
interlibrary loan system that, you know, it's not as, you know, robust, as big as the state one, but it's all being basically done ad hoc and apparently very effectively. And I again, the great library rocks.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think to that point, I think what the numbers that were in this packet were astounding as far as the amount of usage, the percentage of usage and things were just phenomenal. And a question for you, Ann, real quick on the hazardous waste. Is there a place on the website that they can go to get what they can bring back? And
Yeah, it's on the transfer station section of the website, and there's flyers here available at Town Hall.
okay.
Very good. Okay, moving on to our next portion of the agenda. It's public comments on non-agenda items. We've moved this to this point specifically for the reasons I mentioned earlier. The public is invited to address the council on any item of business not on the agenda for tonight's meeting. I'll add that could include the things we've previously discussed. Citizens have the right to and are encouraged to speak during public comment regarding items not on the agenda or regarding items at this time, which does appear on the agenda. So for the items that we'll be talking about afterwards, there will be opportunity for public comment for those. All comments and questions during public comment or on an agenda item are limited to not more than 3 minutes per speaker. The chair may grant an additional 3 minutes after everyone's had an opportunity to speak. And I would invite anyone who has any comments or for us on non-agenda items to come to the podium and sign in. State your name and address for us, please.
My name is Judy Simino. I'm here tonight mostly because I just wanted to say thank you, Matthew, for your service for the longest time that I don't know how many years it's been, but I've watched you on videos for quite some time. So sorry to see you go, and I just want to say thank you for that. I want to say thank you for the rest of you that have been on the board, because I know how hard it is, and I know the commitment and the time that you put in, and it's not easy, I'm sure. So I wanted to say thank you for all of you for that. I'm here mostly because I had sent an email out probably the end of June in regards to some of the concerns that I had with Mike. And Mike, I want you to know this is not personal. I don't even know you. So I want you to know.
I'd love to get the opportunity to get to know you.
All right, so it's not personal, but I want you to know that I was concerned because there were issues that had come up. You know, the thing with the CPA that was hired for a large amount of money, the thing at the transfer station with Randy, you know, hiring maybe a full-time police department. So there were many issues that I sent the email out to. And I sent it to Dan McGuire, and I sent it to Krista Chappell, and I never received a response. And so I followed up with Dan McGuire because I had spoken with Dan many times in the past on other issues. And Dan got back to me and said that he never got my email. And so it's kind of concerning to me that I can send an email through the town's website and directly to somebody and they don't get it. And I sent it to Crystal Chappell as well. And so it's concerning because how can you even know what the town people are asking for or commenting on when you're not even getting them? You know, and I don't understand how they could go to spam if they're going from your website. I didn't use my email, I used the town. I went directly through the town, hit your emails, and sent an email out. And I find it very disturbing that you don't get those. So you don't really even know how many people commented about the tax evaluation thing. I posted something on Facebook on that, and I had 75 comments within 24 hours. And so there is an extremely amount of concern in regards to that issue. I mean, I built my house 5 years ago, and my valuation went up $150,000. And I was pretty upset to think that I should have been starting out like where I was, and incrementally every year I've been going up. So to have such a considerable hit like that, I thought was very unjustified. I did do the review, and I didn't find it very productive yet. Hopefully it does come out good, but I think I had all of 5 minutes to explain some of my concerns. I had a neighbor next door to me, built same year as me, and same square footage, actually has a full 3 bedrooms. I have 2, has 2 baths, I have 1.5, and her value is $50,000 less than mine. So there was a lot of issues. I went on that database, like you said, Mike. I went through that, I spent hours on that, and I was hitting other properties, and I saw no justification for certain issues that came up, certain values or whatever. And I don't think it was very accurate. I'm not just saying my property, I'm saying a lot of properties. So I just don't think there was any real analysis done of accuracy, in my opinion, and I used the database. So my other concern is that many emails going to the town and you're not getting them. How is that even possible? You know, how do you even know what citizens want in the town of Gray when you're not even getting them? You know, I had sent out another email to you, Dan, and I never even got a respond to that. So what is happening? You know, how do you even know how to communicate with the town if we don't show up here tonight, you know, and take our time to come down here? Then there's no way you even have any idea unless we call you, you know, and a lot of people don't have time for that. I watch a lot of them. I watch the Zooms. I am pretty on top of things. I knew the evaluation was coming. I didn't know I was going to get hit that hard, you know, and I don't think a lot of people did. And I think people are really upset by that evaluation, you know, and I think that people are going to be taxed out of their homes. There are people that live on the lake that got hit the hardest, and there are people that have been in their homes in this town for a long time, and those are the ones that are hurt the most. You know, and for those people to have to sell, and other people from Massachusetts come in and buy these properties for, you know, cash, I think is wrong. You know, I think people in Gray, I personally do not want a lot of service in Gray. I don't want my trash pickup. I don't want a full-time police department. I don't think we really need it with 8,200 residents. I want low taxes. I don't want a whole bunch of services. I just want to pay a small amount of taxes and not be bothered. And I really feel a lot of people are in the same boat as that. So the only other comment I wanted to make was I had sent out that email in regards to you, Mike, and I did not do it personally because I don't really know you. The problem that I have is that you reached out to my daughter about my concern with you and talked to my daughter about it and through an email or whatever. And she called me up and said that she heard from you in regards to I was hanging around maybe the wrong people and telling rumors about you. I don't even know you. And I hadn't been telling rumors. I was concerned about facts that I had found out about. So I don't want to make it personal. I don't want my daughter involved in the things that I communicate with you. If you have something that you want to talk to me about, please just call me. I would much rather that than you undermine me, go through my family.
Thank you, Judy.
You're welcome.
We do not usually address comments that are made during this segment of the agenda. I do have some information about the email system, which I didn't share during my report, but what I will do at the end of public comments. Are there any other public comments on non-agenda items? Come to the podium, please. Sign in. The reason for the sign in, by the way, is this is obviously an open session. We have our minutes. If sometimes the sound isn't as good a quality as we wish it was, this way, if when we're creating minutes, there's a question about what someone said, we have a way to get in touch with them and just make sure we get it right.
Yeah, I'm Gary Foster, 181 Weymouth Road. I'm going to surprise you. This is rather benign, but no, you were talking about the E. coli problem with Crystal Lake.
Yes.
And that's been a recurring problem for years and years. But and you're correct. It used to be called Dry Pond, but the reason it was called Dry Pond is because it has an inlet but no outlet. When I was young, the only time the water flowed out of Crystal Lake was in the spring, and it flowed over the road. Since then, they built the road up and put in the culvert, but I think that's the reason it was called Dry Pond back in the day. So.
Yep. No, thank you for the history lesson.
Yeah.
I talked to people who remembered that Egypt Road wasn't plowed in the winter or even paved.
Or paved, I remember that.
So, is there anyone else that has any comments for us tonight? All right, seeing none, I will close public comments for non-agenda items. Regarding the question about the email, I have since found out since our conversation that we have increased the security on our systems. You may have, I'm sure you've read in the news that other communities, some police forces have had ransom attacks on their IT systems. Some of them have even paid the ransom in order to get control of their systems back. We have software now that sits and monitors our email like it didn't used to be monitored in the past. This also includes what comes from the town's website from the contact form. That was being treated as suspicious. and it was going into junk email. When I finished the conversation with Judy, had a conversation with Michael, we talked about it, and staff has come up with a solution to that problem. Every day I receive an email report from that security system that tells me if there's been any email that has been quarantined, is the word they use, for any reason whatsoever. And I can go and I can check and I can make sure that it is either junk or it is something that came from somebody. Sometimes it's an email address, or there's a variety of things that can trigger that. I feel fairly confident the problem has been solved now. I don't know when you last wrote to me using the contact form, but.
It's over 2 weeks ago, Dan.
Okay.
So I don't know if the problem's been fixed. And
Well, I'm not
email
sh-
From my email, I emailed
I
directly.
can't have you talk from there because no one can hear you, sorry. But I'll talk to you more afterwards. The goal obviously is to fix it. The email that people send to the town councilors doesn't go to anybody else. It isn't filtered through anybody else. Obviously, the security system of our IT stuff is very important. We need to make sure we're getting the emails that people send us, and we'll work on that until we're certain that it's done. Okay, I'm going to move on to old business now. And the first and only item is the second and final reading of Order 2425-4, an amendment to the medical cannabis section of the zoning ordinance 402.8.7. And that information is found on packet page 34 in our packet. And I'll start, as I said, Order 2425-4, amendment to the medical cannabis section of the zoning ordinance 402.8.7, be it ordained by the Town Council of the Town of Gray, Maine, and Town Council assembled to allow caregiver retail stores as a conditional permitted use in the Business Development 1 and 2 Commercial and Village Center zoning districts. The first reading was July 16th, 2024, and the second and final reading is tonight, August 20th, 2024. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second? Ann, thank you very much. I'll open this up to discussion now. Anyone want to begin the discussion?
I just think that we need to, oops, sorry.
That's okay.
Um,
Ann?
I don't have any further comments on this one.
Okay. Sorry, Michael, go ahead.
No, I just want to, make us all aware that we did get an unknown individual that sent us a mail that is concerned with where it's located or where they're going to be located. And I just wanted to make that part of the public record that we did get, correspondence about this. And, I understand what they're saying, and as I mentioned personally myself before, I'm not in favor of having 100 of these, so I just want to state that.
Okay. Anyone else have any comments? Matthew, Michael, do you have anything that you want to add? I was not present at the last meeting, and Krista is not here tonight. I don't know, I didn't have an opportunity to speak with her, so I don't know her position. Perhaps everyone else does.
I think she was supportive of
Oh,
it.
but
She was,
generally
yes,
speaking.
I would agree, yeah.
That being the case, I'm wondering if we should table this till our next meeting. The reason for that is, I think that I don't know how other people are voting. I'm not in favor of this amendment, this motion as it's currently written. I think it's too broad as far as the location of cannabis outlets. I think there are some places, perhaps within some of these zones, where I have some concerns about the location of a cannabis outlet. That's not really a new position of mine. I've had that pretty much all along. But like I said, I wasn't at the last meeting to voice that opinion then.
I would make a motion to table.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'm not gonna say
I'll second it.
Okay.
Just, you can't discuss the
No.
motion to table, I was
No.
I was premature.
Ann?
Unless you withdraw your motion, there could be a discussion about it.
Okay, I'll withdraw my motion. So what happens in the case of a tie?
It fails.
Yeah.
The motion fails.
Yeah, I guess I will reinstate my motion.
Okay.
So at our meeting, at the last meeting, the vote was unanimous of those present on
Okay.
this item.
Oh, okay. All right.
If there's other, is there other discussion?
Yeah, this is when we can discuss it.
Yeah, so I'm going to own having brought this forward last fall, and the reason I did it was because we had been laboring under the misapprehension that the majority of Gray voters did not want this use in town. And I went back and looked at the votes, and it was the case when we first voted on medical marijuana in the statewide referenda that a majority of Gray residents did not support that. But then when we subsequently, several years later, voted on the recreational marijuana, a majority of Gray residents voted in favor of it. Or I should say, a majority of those who voted in that referendum, just to be clear, voted in favor of it. So I felt as though, times have changed. We've had an opportunity to sort of see how this gets rolled out and how people respond to it. There are people who, this in particular, this ordinance is for medical marijuana. It's not a recreational retail ordinance, and I feel like it's something people want and need in town. We don't regulate any other business. We don't, in the sense of saying how many there can be. Obviously we are regulating where in town they can go. So I feel comfortable supporting this ordinance. I think that, and we, I think, unanimously agreed in the last meeting that the manager had done a great job in, coming up with a solution for moving this forward in a way that didn't, burden the council and the staff in endless hours and hours and hours of going around and around on ordinance changes. I think this is a reasonable solution, and I support it.
I totally agree with everything that Ann said, Councilor Gass said, and the only reason I made a tabling motion was because I was concerned that it might fail tonight when there is actually a majority of councilors that support it. So that was my only motivation for tabling.
So my question to you is this, is that I have no problem with the two that are coming in. I've been very clear about that. It's moving forward about how many we're gonna have in certain districts and certain areas. Would tabling this allow you to help rewrite this to make sure that these are in the right locations that you want them to be? Is it gonna make a difference? That's, I guess, my biggest question.
Right, and the reason why I said what I said, because I knew Krista wasn't here tonight, was because I think that it should be what the majority wants, and we don't have a full council tonight. If the majority, first of all, I'm not interested in limiting the numbers of anything. We do restrict uses in a variety of ways. We do it in the, shoreline zoning, we do it in commercial zones, we do it in a variety of ways. I don't think there's any value in spending more time on this if the majority of the council is in favor of it. So I don't think personally that tabling this, if you're happy with this, with the wording the way it is, there's nothing in here that restricts the numbers of ordinances. I think the market's gonna take care of that. I mean, there's only so many places that are gonna be viable to work, and so I'm comfortable letting the market make that decision. And like I said, it's my issue that I wasn't at our last meeting, so I didn't have an opportunity then. But that being the case, our choices are to either vote on the motion as it is, or someone to table it until the next meeting. Yes, Michael?
Thank you. If I just may share, I think I shared it at our previous meetings when we discussed in the workshop, but the basis of the ordinance takes as Ann proposed and the council supported, it takes the existing cannabis ordinance and simply adds the one use as a caregiver retail store. So a caregiver retail store is an establishment that somebody who has a medical card can show up at any time and purchase product, just like they can show up to Walgreens or any other store for anything. And so right now, what happens in the community is those businesses exist in our community, but they're by appointment only. So someone has to call and make an appointment, which they could call and make an appointment 5 minutes before they want to go in. So essentially, what's happening is kind of already happening, but it just allows them to do it the right way. And so the ordinance that exists already is fairly limiting. There's distances, there's zones, there's property lines, there's all kinds of things, and it's fairly limiting. And then the legal counsel had recommended this option as the best way to move forward, as if there is a concern in the future about the amount of them or something, then the town could institute a licensing provision. It's not something that we have right now, but if all of a sudden 50 of them open up, we can be like, okay, hold on, we're gonna make a licensing provision and we're gonna have a licensing process. That's something that has a much different standard and a much different level of oversight for town staff and legal, that they recommended we don't have any licensing procedure now for any cannabis businesses, so we shouldn't for this. So it's based on what the council recommended. It's simply a minor tweak to the existing ordinances to allow that. It's not an expansion. I spoke with residents this week who came to ask me about it as well. It's not an expansion of adult use. It's not an expansion of recreational. It's not any expansion of other types of businesses. It's not in new zones. It's not in those different type of areas. So I hope that helps explain how we kind of came to this conclusion. And you mentioned a couple of businesses that are interested in taking advantage of this. We don't know if and how many will, but we know of a couple because there's a couple that have spoken in favor of this ordinance. So it's a fairly minor tweak to the existing ordinances, and like I said, the council supported it at the workshop process. The planning board supported it, and the council supported it unanimously at our last meeting of those who were present.
Very good. All set. Anyone else have any comments, suggestions? We'll vote then.
You will have to take public comment before.
Oh, pardon me.
Yes.
I even mentioned that we were gonna do that, and then I completely spaced it. You can tell I'm new at this. Is there any public comment on the motion? Yes, Lacey, go ahead.
Do I have to sit here? Can I sit?
No, sorry. No one can hear you if you aren't at the podium.
Judy Simino. I just wanted to know, is it any school district? Is it near the schools?
No, there's setback.
It's restricted to be within areas of certain schools.
So there's nothing around, like, because there's a school right here on Main Street.
It's
Private
not
school.
allowed, it's not allowed in this village zone. The village center zone is a different zone.
Okay.
This is called village, I think, proper.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
right
okay.
here.
All right, well, that's, all right, because that was really my biggest concern. And really, it's kind of like, you look at Wyndham and they got like one on every 5 feet. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's like, and they're all surviving still. So it's kind of like, it would be nice to have some limitation, because the space here is very limited, for other businesses. And we'd be shutting out other businesses that we could have that would enhance the town a lot better, I think, than having 50 cannabis stores.
Any of those
Not the
businesses that
proposal.
you're thinking of are free to come to town right now.
Yeah,
I
wow.
would encourage them to do so.
Thank you.
Certainly. Anyone else? Lacey?
Lacey Hanson. I did go to the planning board meeting where this was presented before on July 16th, or maybe it was here. I was very nervous at the time because I was very adamant, and I'm still very adamant, and I kind of reiterate what she just said. On my phone while this meeting was going, I located 5 medical marijuana shops in Wyndham within a 3-mile radius, and there's 5 recreational. So that is on Route 302, which now has a nickname of whatever, Pot Road or something like that. Ann says that majority of people want recreational marijuana. I think it's kind of like they may want to smoke it, but do they really want 10 shops in Gray that are medical caregivers, because we have 5 major roads, maybe there's some other roads too. I can foresee 2 pot shops that are caregivers on each of these roads, so I could see up to 10 shops in Gray. I'd rather see daycare move in. I'd rather see multi-use housing come into there. Other places that give more tax base, maybe they're warehouses or small manufacturing. I fear that if you don't restrict them, they will sprout up, because it's an easy way to get their foot in the door. And I'd rather there be a license restriction, because we need other businesses besides 5, 6, 7 pot shops. And the one speaker that spoke last month, he said, if you need medical marijuana, you can't really get it because Gray only has like 2. Well, you have 2. Right now we have 2 pharmacies, and 1 just closed due to lack of staffing. So a lot of people do go to Wyndham for other things as well. Let them go to Wyndham. Gray residents, more than anything, more than marijuana, more than anything, they don't want Gray to look like Wyndham. Sorry, Wyndham folks, but we don't want Gray to look like North Wyndham. So I'm against the expansion of where they can be, because I know in my direction into West Gray, 2 will be up there within a year or 2.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak to the ordinance?
Brandon Pollard. I live on Mayall Road. I wasn't really planning on speaking tonight, but I guess this is the last chance I get to on this topic. It's been a long road. I appreciate everybody's effort on this for quite a long time. I see the concerns. I know I've spoke about this a lot of times. I see the concerns about having lots of cannabis stores. I think the town's doing a great job at keeping it under one category instead of letting a recreational ordinance take place. If that happens down the road with another council, that's for another date. But this will restrict the amount of businesses in town. And I think in previous meetings, including the planning board meeting, I've kind of addressed everything that has been brought up as a concern from my point of view. And I look forward to coming back to other council meetings as I continue to build my life here in Gray. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? All right. Before we take a vote, are there any other comments?
Are we voting on the tabling motion?
No, he withdrew
I
it.
withdrew the tabling motion.
Okay.
So we're
Okay.
voting on the
Put it back
original
to get that
motion. Yep.
I thought you put that back on.
No, I haven't.
If no one has any comments, that's fine. I'm just giving people one more opportunity.
Well, I mean, it sounds like, I don't know if we want to do a straw poll, but I mean, it sounds like the council as configured tonight is prepared to vote this down. I mean, in which case I'll vote against it so I can bring it back up. No?
It's tough. Brad and Scott, I would love to have them open up their facilities, but me personally, that's all I want. I don't want, and from what everyone's telling me, is we can't say just 2, we can't say just 10. I'm not gonna say no. I just don't love it. How about that?
And I think from my own point of view, it's, like I said, I think this isn't crafted finely enough for me. I understand that we can, limit the numbers later, but inevitably you end up grandfathering existing ones, and it just becomes a much messier process. And I'm never really in favor ever of making that decision up front myself.
I'm gonna renew my tabling motion.
Oh.
I'll second it.
Okay. That
I mean,
surprises
well, wait a
me a
minute,
little
so
bit.
yeah, I mean, I'm just sort of confused about how we move forward. It sounds like if this motion, I mean, if this ordinance version is not gonna be successful this evening, then it's back to the drawing board and a new one gets brought back to the council, or how does the process work? I guess.
I think procedurally, we have a tabling motion that
Yeah,
Robert's
okay,
rules
sorry. Yep,
doesn't allow
yep, yep.
discussion, so
Yep,
if the
thank
council
you.
wants to continue to have discussion, then the
Oh, I
motion
think-
should be.
Can you remove it
I'll
again?
withdraw it again.
Oh, stop just a second. I heard the discussion to table it, but I didn't actually hear someone say they were gonna table it, and I didn't hear a second for that.
Oh,
I don't, did I miss it?
I think so.
Yes.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
Matt made a
Yeah.
motion to
Okay.
renew his tabling motion and seconded it, and then
Okay,
she
my
provided
mistake, I
comment.
apologize.
Yep.
Yes,
Yep.
at that point in time, the discussion's
So
over.
for purposes of further discussion, I will withdraw my table motion.
This is why they call it making sausage.
Yeah,
Yes.
If I may, Mr. Chair, just procedurally, it appears to me that last meeting, it voted unanimously
Yeah.
and without your presence, and it doesn't seem like anyone's changing their vote from who was here at the
Okay.
last meeting.
All right.
I don't think that is the case.
Okay.
I think that's clearer now than it was at the beginning of
Thank
our
you. Yeah,
discussion.
thank you
Yes,
for
that's what I was
clarifying
trying to do.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I took the,
I can't see Mike's face.
I think
that's why
I think everyone's might be willing to vote in favor of it, but they don't all love it. And I
Yeah,
think what it
that's
just-
absolutely how it is, and if we
Okay.
thought we could get anyways different with it, then I would be all for tabling it, but I just, listen, Matt's gonna be gone as of next month, Krista was for it. It's gonna pass if Krista comes in probably anyways, so let's just let these gentlemen go ahead. I just wanna make this comment, I don't love the fact of the grow facility beside Justin X. I made that very public. I don't think it's the appropriate place. And I don't want to go back after the fact because everyone tells me, well, we can't change it now. I don't want that to happen in this case. And I just want to make that comment and be done.
Right.
Very good.
And I would comment, it wouldn't affect grow facilities. This
Not in
ordinance-
its current state
Yeah,
now.
this has no bearing on grow
This
facilities.
isn't changing any of the existing ordinances.
Right, which is another reason why I don't support it. All right, I think we're ready to vote.
Ready?
Yes, we are.
Thank you for wading through this. Sorry.
Well, it's messy, but as confusing as that sounded, it was not unimportant, I think, to get down to the nitty-gritty of it, which I
Yeah.
think we were finally there.
Yeah.
Matthew,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Ann,
Yes,
and I'm a no. The motion passes.
okay.
Our next order of business is new business. We have a section for business licenses, of which we have none tonight.
That was at the begining.
It was.
I made the
Discussion.
motion
And
and
Ann
I
seconded it.
Yep.
That was
Sorry.
at the beginning
That
of the
was a
discussion.
way back at the
that was like half an hour.
We ended up back at the beginning.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'll help you sort that one out.
yeah. Sorry about that.
no?
I'm the one that jumped the gun, so.
All right. The next order of business is Resolve 2425-8, authorization for the Maine Municipal Association Vice President and Executive Committee vote. Be resolved that the Gray Town Council hereby approves the proposed slate of nominees for the 2025 MMA Vice President and Executive Committee members as discussed. This is the first and final reading, August 20th, 2024. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second?
Second.
Motion made by Ann, seconded by Matthew. Yes.
I just wanted to point out, I have the document in my office, so before we go, we'll have everybody sign it.
Yep, and I was
Forgot
just gonna
bring
say,
it to my desk.
yep, don't go home before you sign this document.
Okay.
This is MMA, the Maine Municipal Association, the town of Gray is a member of the association. Every year, they put forth a slate of candidates for their leadership and their executive committee members, and they ask their membership, of which we're one, to take a vote. We've done this in the past, so we're doing it again. Any other discussion? Go to roll call. Ann?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Matthew?
Yes.
I'm also a yes. The motion carries. The next order of business is to appoint Lacey Ensign to the Wild Blueberry Festival Committee. And that, let me read that motion. Resolve 2425-9, appointing Lacey Ensign to the Wild Blueberry Festival Committee. Be resolved that the Greytown Council hereby appoints Lacey Ensign as a regular member of the Wild Blueberry Festival Committee with a term expiring on August 31st, 2027. This is the first and final reading, August 20th, 2024. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Matthew, second.
I'll second.
Ann, thank you very much. Is there any discussion?
I would say that Lacey is not just a member of the committee, she's the leader of the committee. She's the original instigator. So, yeah, and we thank her very much for all her years of service.
Absolutely.
Yes, I was elsewhere for the Blueberry Festival this year, though my family did attend and did enjoy themselves. This isn't the only thing that Lacey's involved with the town. And it's hard to say something new. It's hard to say something new other than thank you. That sounds kind of old and worn. But it is heartfelt. You have, with the other people that have worked with you, that you've led, have created something that I think has become fairly special to the town, and which I know you want to see continue beyond your own involvement and become a permanent fixture of the town. And I do sincerely appreciate, I'm not a public person myself, but I do appreciate all the effort that you've put in to make this happen, so thank you very much. Anyone else?
I didn't get a chance to make it either, but all I've heard are wonderful things. You guys are doing a great job up there. It's a great way to get the community together. I went to school in Machias, so I went to a different blueberry festival. But, I hear wonderful things about all the work that you've done, and thank you for volunteering.
Yeah, I've gone the last 3 years, last 2 years as a counselor, and it's just been, in whatever role I've been there, it's been very enjoyable and a real asset to the town. And
Well, we'll let you come back next year, even though you don't live here.
You can even volunteer if you want.
That's right. All right, very good. Roll, Matthew,
yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Ann,
Yes.
and I'm also a yes. Thank you, Lacey. Our next order of business is appointing Mary Sweeney Underwood to the Recreation Committee. Resolve 2425-10. Be resolved that the Greytown Council hereby appoints Mary Sweeney Underwood as a regular member of the Recreation Committee with a term expiring on August 31st, 2027. This is the first and final reading, August 20th, 2024. Do I have a motion?
I like a motion.
I'll
Motion
second.
Mike, second Ann, I heard. Is there any discussion?
What can you say, you
Yeah,
know?
exactly, yeah.
You know, like, I guess if I weren't, you know, like, I tend to, you know, use absurdist humor sometime in my private life, you know, to say, you know, like, I would be inclined to say, oh, this person's not qualified, you know, as a joke. And of course, she's just a huge asset to whatever committee she's on, and a huge asset to the town. And, yeah, you know, I wish I had better words to heap praise upon her.
Anyone else?
Said, yeah, no, I just really, having worked with Mary on a few things, I just really appreciate her, you know, her positive attitude and her, you know, just willingness to leap in and just make it happen. I absolutely love her. She's great.
Yes, go ahead.
I was just going to add that since my short tenure here, Mary's been so welcoming and willing to help with anything that I might need help with, and it's really awesome that her mission is to just try to eliminate divisiveness in communities, and we experience that on a regular basis, and she promotes positivity, like Ann said, and so I really enjoy, and as you saw, Lily talked, the summer intern Lily talked about in her video, doing a video with Mary on the Historical Society. Mary's done another video that's going to be coming out soon, and she's really passionate about just promoting positivity, so we appreciate all that she does.
Yeah, absolutely.
She is an inspiration. There's no doubt about that. All right, let's go to roll. Ann?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Matthew?
Yes.
And I'm also a yes. The next order of business, order number 2425-5, to accept donations from the Pennell Alumni Association, be it ordered that the Greytown Council hereby approves the acceptance of $15,000 of donated funds from the Pennell Alumni Association, with the condition that these funds be added to the existing Pennell Clock Tower Fund, to be expended for the purposes of maintenance and repair of the Howard Round Top Tower Clock at the Pennell Municipal Complex. This is the first and final reading, August 20th, 2024. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Yeah, I'll
Matthew, seconded Ann. Is there any comments?
If I
Michael?
may introduce the item?
Sure.
Thank you. I just want to introduce Doug Webster from the Community Development Department. Has really taken the bull by the horns to care for this amazing facility, and the town should be very proud of this facility we have here, as it's the envy of a lot of other municipalities in the area. But Doug has said that some folks have nicknamed him Father Pennell because he likes to take care of the Pennell complex, and one of the most important historical items of the Pennell complex is the clock. And so Doug has really worked hard to steward that clock and ensure that it's maintained in its historical manner for many, many years to come. And as part of that, he reports to the Alumni Association on an annual basis, and it's also very important to them as well to support the continued maintenance of this facility in general, but also to support the clock. And so he was able to secure a donation from them for $15,000 to be in a fund to dedicate it. And as you see outlined in the memo, the regular annual maintenance costs are around $800, and I'm sure that's going to go up over time. We do have about $6,700 in the account. So as long as the cost doesn't increase too much, we should be able to continue the annual maintenance for a number of decades. And we really appreciate the Pennell Association's dedication, the alumni dedication to the town, and really thank Doug for his efforts to continue stewarding this facility, and we're honored to have him continue to do that.
Thank you, Mike.
Yes.
Anyone else? Matthew?
I guess I would just mention, when I was a city councilor in Biddeford, the clock tower on Town Hall in Biddeford had fallen into disrepair, and I assume it's been fixed, but the entire time I was on the council, there was this question of bonding like $1 million or more to fix it because it had fallen into disrepair. So, that experience really reinforces with me the need to have this maintenance fund and to take care of our landmarks, and particularly here at Town Hall.
Yep. Thank you. Ann?
Yeah, I'll just note that Doug does tours of the clock
Yeah.
tower during the Blueberry Fest. So if you missed it in previous years, hopefully he'll be around to do them again next year. Well, we're participating in those, and I think he had a huge turnout this year. Yeah, so I really appreciate the Pennell Alumni Association, making this gift available. It's very thoughtful.
Mike?
I just have a question. I just want to make sure this gets used for what and it's just a clarification thing. If we accept these funds, we can, they will absolutely go towards the repair of this clock. So they can't be put in a general fund or anything like that. It's specifically, okay.
Yeah, so this order will bind the council to this restriction. We'll put it in a fund that will be restricted, and it will be reported on our annual audits as a restricted fund for that purpose only.
Okay, and will it grow interest?
Yes, yeah, I'll make sure that this fund is properly invested at a better rate, since it's not funds that are used on a regular basis. Interest rates are high at the moment, but slated to go down, so we'll try to capitalize on what we can when we receive this donation and keep it in the highest generating interest as possible.
To Michael's point, this will be combined with existing funds that are there, and hopefully that interest will pay for the majority of, if not all, the maintenance of the clock for some time to come. Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Karen Taylor. I'm president of the Pennell Alumni Association, and we were fortunate enough to receive a pretty good-sized sum from the George Clements will. He went to school here and graduated in 1956. So that's how we came upon being allowed to give you people. We voted at our annual meeting in July to give $15,000 to the clock fund.
Thank you very much for sharing that with us.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Pardon?
I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, that's it.
Okay.
Yep.
I was just going to share that I think the clock tower actually saved this building. When Ann and I were on the council longer ago than I care to remember, I mean, on the school board longer ago than I care to remember, when the school district actually owned this building. And we started the process of trying to find a new use for it, and went through a lot of difficulty getting to this point. But it was in fact the work that was done on the clock tower. And the clock tower was, I mean, bricks were falling out of this building back then. It had sat vacant for a while, and buildings that don't have a purpose don't live long. And I think the group that repaired the clock are really the group of people that saved this building, because from that point on, there was more interest in saving this landmark. And through all the wrangling that went on between the school district and the town at the time, this is what we have from it. And I think to Michael's point, it is a structure that we definitely can be very proud of, and it's a symbol
Yeah,
of our
I
community.
graduated from here in 1961.
I graduated in 1962, the last class, Shirley
Yeah.
Wilkinson.
And my oldest daughter was the last kindergarten class in this building. So
Yeah.
part of this was her classroom. There you go. And we have a fifth grader in attendance also. So there's a tremendous, there's a tremendous amount of history here, and we're all, I think, very pleased that we've got it.
George Clements was a relative of Terry Wilkinson, my husband. And he wanted to make sure, he had a trust with 12 different companies, and he wanted to make sure that we get the money.
Well, we're indebted to him, for sure. Yep.
We're also looking into with more of the money to get a park bench, and your groundskeeper suggested that we put it in front of the lab building.
Nice.
So,
Yeah.
and then we have to find out if he already has a brick in the walkway. If not, we'll get one.
Okay.
But they didn't keep records of who bought bricks, so we gotta go one by one.
You have You're going to inventory them for us, are you?
Yeah, that's nice.
Maybe we'll just get one anyway.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, that's right. If he has two, that's.
Thank you for coming.
Yes, thank you very much for taking time to come tonight. Any other comments? We'll vote.
I just have one quick question. Was your husband the school teacher, or did he?
At Greeley.
Okay, yeah, your husband was one of my fraternity brothers. Kappa Delta Phi, yes, ma'am, yep. He was a very, very nice young man.
People that shoveled the ice and the alpha people brought the girls.
Sorry.
I don't know if I'm glad you weren't at the podium when you said that or not. In any case, there's more proof it's a small world. We'll go to vote. Matthew?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
And I'm also a yes. Thank you again for your time, and
We're in the process of changing over our offices, the new offices too, and we've been to the bank to get that straightened out, and then we will be bringing the check in.
great. Thank you very much again.
Thank you.
Our next order of business is Order 2425-6. Gemstone Estates winter maintenance easement. Be ordered that the town that the Gray Town Council hereby accepts the public easement for winter maintenance on Boulder Drive in the Gemstone Estates subdivision from the Gemstone Estates Homeowners Association and authorizes the town manager to execute the public easement deed. This is the first and final reading, August 20th, 2024. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion.
Mike, second.
I'll second.
Ann, seconds. Is there any discussion?
I have a question. It may not be, there may not be an answer to this question, Michael, but I was wondering if you could sort of hazard a guess as to sort of the average cost of winter road maintenance for each road. Is there or what's the total? Well, what's the total budget number? Do you remember? I forgot to look it up.
We just recently bid the roads, and I don't have the number in front of me at the moment, but there's a road mile per cost for each route, and let me try to find that and get that to you.
Okay.
But the bids were favorable to our budget, so that was good news, because we were nervous that there may or may not be contractors willing to perform this work. So we have a 3-year contract with one contractor who was the low bidder for all the winter maintenance roads.
Okay.
And he provided us a 2 years of options, which is allowed under the purchasing policy. So at least we have some certainty on some pricing for about 5 years.
That's great.
So hopefully that's not an issue we need to tackle anytime soon.
That's good news,
Lovely.
for sure.
Great news.
Yep. Regan, any other questions? All right. There is a set criteria in our ordinance that's required that homeowner associations meet. You saw the information in our packet. Clearly, these folks have met that responsibility, so we'll go to vote. Ann?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Matthew?
Yes.
And I'm also a yes. Next order of business, Order 2425-7, Long Hill Estates Winter Maintenance Easement. Be ordered, the Gray Town Council hereby approves the addition of approximately 851 feet of the Arlington Court Phase 2 in the Long Hill Estates subdivision to the town's 2024-25 winter maintenance contract number 1 with MV Contracting at a cost of $727.50 for fiscal year 25, and authorizes the town manager to execute the necessary amendments to the appropriate contract, conditioned on the completion of the final cost of paving and other roadway improvements as outlined by the town's consulting engineer, and the performance bond for the project being held until the work is complete. This is the first and final reading, August 20th, 2024. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Ann, second?
Second.
Matthew, seconds. Thank you. Are there any questions concerning the Long Hill Estates winter maintenance easement? Mike?
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to mention, I found for this upcoming winter, there's 3 different contracts. One is $4,850 per center line mile, another one is $4,800, and another one is $4,750. And then it goes up incrementally from there. So that's essentially the annual cost per lane mile.
Okay.
Center lane mile is the correct
Can you
term.
repeat those to me again, Mike?
$4,850 for one of the contracts that does a certain area.
Three of them.
Okay.
The second one is $4,800, and the third one is $4,750.
Center-
And I think some of them change because some of them are more complicated to plow.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay.
And then it incrementally goes up from there, so we hopefully we'll have an option to continue that for 5 years if that seems like to be the best funding.
That's excellent news. Any other questions or discussion?
Yeah, I just want to make sure I understand this. So we already do Long Hill Estates. They're just adding approximately 851 feet. Is that what we're reading here?
Yeah, that's correct. They're just adding a small section, and the cost is being outlined here.
Okay.
And so in the future, we'll bring forth the full road at some point. But as you can see, on the form, they've completed all the requirements in order to be able to have that section.
Okay, I just heard someone a second ago, Dan, maybe it was you, mentioned something about tarring.
Well,
Did
most subdivisions are built in phases. and
Well, so this is conditioned upon the completion of the final coat of paving and other roadway improvements as outlined by the town's consulting engineer.
Okay, so I just want to make myself clear on this. We're not saying that we're going to pay for tiring. We're saying that as long as they do these items, we will pave.
They
I mean, we
qualify
will
for winter
plow.
maintenance.
Okay, all right, cool. That's all.
I
Thank
believe
you.
there's a $200,000 bond that the town is holding.
All
for this.
that is
Yeah.
connected, yes.
Okay, all right, thank you. This is
Yep.
clarification.
Any other questions or discussion? We'll go to vote. Ann?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Matthew?
Yes.
And I'm also a yes. Motion carries. And that brings us
Public comment.
to public comment. There's no public online and no public left in the room. No offense to the chief and our clerk. So we'll move on to referrals, of which we have none. And we'll skip ahead to upcoming meetings. Quickly, there's a town council workshop on September 3rd at 5:30 PM, followed by a regular business meeting at 7 PM. There will also be a council workshop on the 17th at 5:30 PM, followed by the business meeting at 7 PM. And a council meeting on October 1st at 7 PM. Currently, there is no workshop scheduled for that day, but that.
No, October 1st is the
But-
Village Transformation Project.
But that has
Oh,
changed.
yes, yeah, we'll
So-
get that workshop listed on there, I
So there-
apologize.
No, I don't know that it existed when this came out.
Yeah.
So there will also be on October 1st, a council workshop at 5:30 PM.
Okay, at 5:30 as well, okay.
So you can have that. That ends the sort of regularly scheduled portion of our meeting. I'll take a motion to go into executive session. The Gray Town Council will enter into an executive session under MRSA Title I, Chapter 13, Section 4056A, to discuss personnel matters, and MRSA Title I, Chapter 13, Section 4056D, to discuss labor contracts and negotiations with the Gray Firefighters Union, IAFF Local 5007.
So
Is
moved.
there a motion?
So moved.
Matthew, second.
I'll second.
Ann?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I just want to include, to mention that this will include myself, the town manager. A portion of it will include the town attorney will be joining us remotely, and then the fire chief will be joining us at a certain point of it as well.
And will there be action afterwards?
There's no action,
There will
so
be-
we will adjourn directly from executive session.
Okay, so there's no action, we'll take no action at the end of the executive session, so as the town manager said, we'll just adjourn from there. Thank you very much. Have a good evening, everyone.